Craig Yoho. See ya. Algonquin for the good place. Oh! Hello and welcome to the Team Profile and Projections, your 12th ranked team, and I'm not fully sure why. The Milwaukee Brewers, who went 93-69 last year. Nice. They did lose to the New York Mets in dramatic fashion. And man, looking at some of these Brewers numbers, they had incredible bullpen. Second in ERA out of the pen. Sixth in runs scored last year. Yo, your run prevention Brewers. Piecemeal in the rotation towards the end. They were third last year in run differential. The DirecTV Rewind. If you're looking to transform your baseball watching experience, head to directtv.com/JohnBoy or scan the QR code on the screen to learn more. Trev, it's a big offseason for Milwaukee, so maybe that's what moved the people. What did the ins and outs look like?
There's actually quite a bit on my sheet here about who they added, and a couple guys who you should be absolutely terrified that they added. We'll get to them soon. Just today, right before we started filming this, they signed Jose Quintana, a 1 year, we think it's could be $5 million deal, and that is an absolute bargain for a guy. That's right, that's on the sheet. For a guy that started 31 games for the Mets last year, 170 in the third innings pitched to a 3.75, and we're talking a 1 year for. That's Brewers ball right there. Yeah. Tyler Alexander comes over for 1 year, $1 million. So they're getting some value in some veteran pitchers coming over. Here's the guys that you should be like, what is going on? Grant Wolfram signs a 1 year major league contract. Is he going to be on the roster? We don't know, but he was in Texas last year in AA and AAA, had a pretty good year. Oh yeah, he's like 6'7". He's a big boy. They're going to figure some stuff out with him. And their annual, guy coming back from an Asian league is Elvin Rodriguez. He signs a 1 year, $900,000 deal. Again, will he be on the roster? I don't know, but they're going to pay him $900,000 because he probably found a splitter over there, and it's probably really nasty now. We'll see both those guys at some point during the year for the Brew Crew. And then some trades came in. They traded with with your Yanks. In the Devin Williams trade, they brought over Nestor Cortez, which, like, honestly, if we're just talking ball, guy has a track record. Guy has a track record of being pretty dang good in the big leagues. Plus, he's like the mess with your timing master, and don't you bet you know what, the Brewers are going to dive into that with him. Caleb Durbin comes over. He's an infield outfield guy. He is Jake's doppelganger to a T. We'll see where he slots in. Like, is he going to be in the mix at third base? Is he going to be a utility guy? We'll see how that works out for him. They traded for Grant Anderson from the Texas Rangers. That was for a prospect, Mason Molina. That's an interesting one. Last year, 23 games, 26 and 2/3 innings pitched to an 8.1, but he probably does something really well that the Brewers like. That's just kind of how it goes. They brought in Mark Canha, Manuel Margot, Debbie Garcia, Jorge Alfaro, and Connor Thomas, all in minor league deals. Connor Thomas was a Rule 5 draftee. They exercised a few options. Freddie Peralta, the Brewers exercised his $8 million club option.
Smart
nice
move
for them. And then Rhys Hoskins actually he exercised his $18 million player option after, a so-so year last year. He didn't think he was going to get that on the open market. So he's back. He likes playing in Milwaukee, and he'll be back. And I'd venture to say we'll see probably at least the same numbers out of Rhys, maybe a little bit more. I'm big on Rhys Hoskins. But they did lose quite a bit, Jake, and that is where you come in, my friend.
Man, they did. They lost Willy Adames, who little bit the heart and soul of the team. I know Yelly gets a vote there, and a couple other guys.
Yelly would say that Willy is.
Yeah, I'm glad you can say that. I can't say that. Willy brings the vibe, and he also brought 161 games of 32 home runs, a 118 OPS plus. He is now in San Francisco. Cisco. They also lost some arms, some at the deadline, some full year. Frankie Montas got paid by the Mets. Colin Rea, he's now with the Cubbies. Kerry Sanchez got a lot of run with them last year. Milner, Joe Ross throwing some innings. The other big one was Devin Williams, who in 22 games was about as good as a reliever can be. But he did miss a chunk of time last year. He's wearing the pinstripes, and he just opened up the beard policy. What's that about? Wade Miley, gone. Sorry, Dalton. Your boy Rob Zastrinsky and Kevin Herget. So I think that's where a lot of the people are currently at. Like, they see Willie Adames gone. They see Devin Williams gone. What does the Brewers lineup? I can't believe some of their numbers from last year. What's the Brewers lineup look like for this year?
Yeah, the offensive numbers, I don't think people realize what they did collectively as a unit last year. Jackson Trio was a big part of that. He started off kind of slow, but then just turned it on. And you're going to hear a lot about this guy if you haven't already, which if you're listening to the show, you probably have. Yelly will be, he'll DH quite a bit, but he had the back surgery. So he's feeling so much better. Got to see him swing in the offseason. Looks great. William Contreras, best catcher in baseball. He's up there.
Yeah.
He'll be right in the middle of that lineup. Garrett Mitchell in center field. Reese Hoskins will be at first base. Bryce Terang. Sounds like they're going Bryce Terang. Stay at second base. You just won the Platinum Glove. And Joey Ortiz, now you'll be the shortstop. Sal Frelick in right field. And then the third base position is kind of up in the air. I mentioned Caleb Durbin. You could say Oliver Dunn. There's a guy named Black as well there that could be in the mix. They'll figure that out as spring training goes and the season starts to open. On the bench is Mark Canha might make the roster. We'll see. He offers a right-handed bat to complement a lot of those. I think all of the outfield right now is left-handed. If you're talking about Frelick and Mitchell and Yelly, Churio is right-handed. So he has a chance there. Eric Haas on the bench as the backup catcher. So they have, I think, a deeper lineup than a lot of people will give them credit for. Jake Bowers is back. Blake Perkins will be back in mid-May. Like they have a deeper lineup than people give them credit for, and as shown by the year-end statistics last year. So I'm looking at the lineup. I'm liking the lineup. Jake, tell me about that rotation in the bullpen.
These Brewers pitched. You mentioned the $8 million for Freddie Peralta. Yeah, that's okay. And then it might turn into one of my jokes throughout the year that feels like they have like 4 guys you'd love as your 4 or 3 starter, depending on the year. It's Tobias Myers, who broke out last year, and maybe he doesn't deserve that. Maybe he's taken a step up, and watch him break out even more. My guy, Nestor Cortez, don't bet against him. Aaron Savale in Milwaukee, and Jose Quintana coming in, who probably pushed Aaron Ashby out of the rotation. And don't be surprised DL Hall gets back in the mix. That was kind of the headline piece. Never mind Joey Ortiz for Corbin Burns. Brandon Woodruff should come back at some point this year, excuse me. Your guy, Elvin Rodriguez, listed. And then in the bullpen, this is where they are elite. Trevor McGill will take over the closer role. Jared Koenig and Brian Hudson were so incredible for them last year. Joel Piamps, Peguero, they traded for Nick Mears last year. And then, Abner Uribe not listed, and that guy has some stuff in the tank. Craig Yoho, the Pirates' life for me. Watch out. And then you said it, watch out for Grant Wolfram. Never called up to the big leagues, but the Brewers offered him a major league contract. I don't know. The 6'7" lefty that had good numbers at AAA last year, I'd be worried about that if I was every other team. These Brewers are going to pitch. And apparently these Brewers are going to hit that. Trev, I guess, coming into this, the first place team we have from last year, ranked 12th. Now, there are significant parts out, and we get caught up in that. And you should be caught up in Willie Adames not being on this team. You should be caught up in Devin Williams not being on this team. But we've seen them overcome losing Josh Hader. Didn't really affect them too much.
Corbin Burns.
We've seen them overcome Corbin Burns. And yeah, man, I guess I'm just a little taken aback right now because as I look back at the 24 Brewers offensively, I'm like, okay, if you had told me before last season the Brewers had a really good offensive year, I'd be like, okay, so did Reese hit 38? No, he hit 26, 98 OPS plus. Okay. Like, did the Sal Frelick breakout happen? Did the Garrett Mitchell breakout happen for a full year? Garrett Mitchell was good. But yeah, man, it's almost like Willie Adames' year should not be overlooked and what that means coming from the shortstop position. But it feels like this team has, when we just talked about the Royals, we were talking about room to grow. And we were like, the Royals feel a little, the Brewers feel like they had room to grow and they won 93 last year. And they were a pitch away from winning their wild card matchup.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of guys that are just like underrated, I guess you could say. If you can go back and put Christian Yelich and give him a full year because he was dealing with that back, right? In the limited games that he played, 73 games last year, 909 OPS. Okay, I would say that if he played a full year, he'd be in the top 25 MVP vote getting. I would say that, right? Well, that would have mean they had 4 players in the top 25 in MVP voting on their team last year. Not too many people can say that, Jake. We had Chiriot come in, MVP 22. We had Willie Adames, MVP 10, and William Contreras, MVP 5. Now, I know you're getting rid of Adames, but again, that's where I think there's just not enough love given to like this lineup. Like they had guys doing it last year and they do it in different ways. Like they're going to steal bags. So if they get on base, they're going to take the extra base, whether that is a stolen base, whether that's running, going first to third, like a team that's efficient in base running, a team that's going to run prevent. They had the Platinum Glove winner on their team. That's what they do is they stop runs. But again, I just think there's more offense here than we give them credit for. And I think there is a world where Joey Ortiz has a better year than a 727 OPS. And if he's playing shortstop and he puts up a 750 OPS, I mean, that's going to put him, in a different kind of tier of players. Like that's the kind of things that the Brewers have right now. So I know we always want to get lost in, okay, yeah, these guys can just create bullpen nightmares out of nowhere, and they're always going to get a little bit more out of their starting pitching than other places, and they make these sneaky moves, but they've been able to bang the ball around enough and score in different ways enough where their offense ended up where it ended up. So it's just, I think we're going to consistently underrate their offense, and I don't think we should necessarily anymore.
Yeah, and I'm Yelly. I think we've seen the offensive profile go from MVP to like a little lost, and then he kind of got the OBP back, and then he built on that last year, and he was killing it. The injury thing's a concern. Like I know the guy, and it was like a real surgery. That hey, I hope we're talking in September. How awesome is it that Belly's on pace to play 155 this year? But you're a little nervous about that. William Contreras, yeah, it's him and Cal Raleigh. It'll be interesting to see if Jefferson Caro is like if he's the real deal. Do they tap on him and then he goes to DA? I don't know. That's fun stuff in Milwaukee. Hopefully, yeah, man. This team. This team's got room to grow. I like their stars. And we barely talked about Chiriot up until this point, that he went nuts in the second half last year. He had an OPS in the 9s. He stole and hit like 13 homers in the second half. I just had the numbers and I lost them. But like, this guy has a chance to be 12 homers, 12 steals in the second half. Like, this guy has, I'll say 30-30 potential just to keep myself in check. He turns 21 in a couple days as we record this. That you can hear it in our voice. A 93-win team, I think they're getting dinged by losing some big names, and that's a little bit fair. But this organization has shown they can replenish from within, and I think the playoff thing just left a dirty feeling with everyone that, I don't know, dude, if this Brewers team had gone to the DS and even lost in 4 games, I think we'd have this team ranked 8th or 9th or something, but instead they're sitting at this 12 spot because I do think the playoff history has now become a little bit of a thing. But that's because they go every year.
They go every year, and they haven't been able to kind of get over the hump, I guess. I think it has something to do with brand names. Like they don't keep brand names around. They don't. Like they will trade brand names. They're getting a few of them now. I think Churriel will be a brand name.
Yeah. Yelly. Like
Yelly is, but they're relying on like how many people who follow baseball like on a casual level know who Bryce Terang is, and you got to know who that is. That is to me what the Brewers are all about. Garrett Mitchell, like go check out the numbers for a center fielder.
Yeah.
Like they're pretty damn good. I don't think people have that in the lexicon. It's like we say this about the Brewers all the time, and I think it does reign true. And maybe their fans are sick of hearing it. They think they're smarter than every other team, and I think they are pretty damn smart.
They got a good track record of that.
They have a track record of being able to evaluate talent. I'll never get over the Eswer Ruiz trade for William Contreras or whoever. That's who they gave up, right? They gave up Eswer Ruiz and they got William Contreras. That was their part of the trade.
There might have been another throw-in, but yes.
So their ability to make the moves they want, again, identify talent that fits into their system. They don't care what Pacoda or Zip says about them because they have their own, and a lot of teams do, their own rankings and projection systems and algorithms that they use, and they believe in theirs a lot more than the stuff that's open publicly. So I don't know, man. I think it's okay. I think they like being underrated every single year. It doesn't really matter to them. Again, 93 freaking games last year when the Cubs were supposed to come into town and absolutely crush it. Well, the Cubs didn't. I think they finished 10 games under the Brewers last year, something like that. So it's a mindset in Milwaukee that they have that's proven fruitful for them. And if we're looking, this is my kind of like main takeaway with the Brewers. I think they're going to pitch. And I think that if we were just looking at this team and didn't know team names and we're just kind of looking at like statistics and, ages and stuff, like to have a 20-year-old like MVP kind of candidate already, not to mention, they have like veterans that have done it in Reese and Yelly. They can like impart wisdom on these guys. They have guys like in like still the very beginnings of their career in like a Garrett Mitchell and a Bryce Terang and a Frelick. And then you have Trio who just came from last year. Like they have a nice mixture of like ages on their roster, experience and youthfulness. And I think that shows in the way that they play. Like they'll be timely hitting, but they'll also be like they second most stolen bases in all of baseball last year. Like they have a little bit of everything, Jake. That's how I see it. Because this team will tell you that they are always trying to find some sort of advantage in the margins, and they do it probably better than any other team. So they have a million ways to beat you. And that's how I believe they went 19-9 in August last year. 19-9, that's reserved for absolute juggernaut teams to be able to run off a month like that, but they can beat you in so many different ways. And I think there are times where, we're going to get runs like that from the Brewers.
So what's I guess let's play devil's advocate for a minute because we're obviously looking and we're liking a little bit. What are the potential Achilles heels? It's that hitting's contagious and maybe the lineup itself overall comes down. It's you lost Devin Williams on when they traded Hader, they still had Devin Williams. No shots fired at McGill and some of these other guys, but it's like, okay, maybe the bullpen has it doesn't feel as confident in the back end. A couple of these starters don't live up to their billing. Is that it? I don't.
Yeah, I think, look, there's room for regression kind of everywhere, and you can say that about any team. Like, their offense, is it going to be sixth in runs this year? Like, I don't know. It
Right.
might not be. So you're talking about, okay, so that's a little bit of regression there. The starting pitching staff, I think there's a lot of different scenarios that could play out with it. I don't think this is like a tried and true, like set it and forget it
That's fair.
rotation. I don't
That's
think
fair.
that at all. Like, is there upside as well? Yeah. So I also don't think there's a ton of depth. I mean, it's not. I want to say that. It's not bad depth. Like Ashby can come. Woodruff is coming back. The five starters that we already mentioned: Savali, Cortez, Myers, Quintana, Peralta. Like this, so there's enough depth. I guess I won't say that there's no depth there, but we could see them like they were last year, kind of middle of the pack. And then the bullpen, I really don't have any question marks for the bullpens. I've I'm not going to bet against that at all. So I guess it's I don't see a lot of scenarios where they have like a super low floor. Like, we're gonna get to this over under, and you're probably not gonna believe it.
Yeah, I like what you pointed out about the rotation. Like I think bullpen wise, you can't say anything against it the past few years. I think the rotation after Freddie, there's more question marks that maybe we're giving Milwaukee credit for that maybe they deserve, because as we're seeing right now, Brewers pitchers had an ERA of 2.98 against division opponents, which that was the third best in Major League Baseball. And
Division got better.
the division got better.
It did.
I do think there's a couple things in play there, though, because that means you're scouting better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're talented and they have their pitching factory, but I guess this is, and again, maybe this is just lame, but the Yankees were good last year. They were bad in division, and that's because those teams knew them better. Those teams knew that they could take the extra base on them defensively, and all those little things that you know about your team, you know about your division that I don't know. I see that stat, and I don't think luck or situational. I think that's another reflection of where Milwaukee has been a better organization than some of the organizations in the NL.
Yeah, like I said, they have that analytical department running, full steam ahead. Like, I do believe that does help. But here's where, maybe they also are self-aware, because they do think highly of themselves. We know some of the people
Sure.
in that organization. They do think very highly of themselves, and again, track record supports that. But you have Pat Murphy
Mm,
at the helm, who's not necessarily the biggest, computer guy.
mm.
Christian Yelich, not into that either. I do think they have a great mix of guys buying in and also some old school baseball, like, hey, here's how you win games on the field sometimes too. So there is, I think, a beautiful mixture of updated analytics, advanced scouting, the ability to find they know what they do well, and they look for that in these free agent finds or these trades, whatever. So they have that process going on all at the same time as, I mean, is Pat Murphy one of the most old school managers in baseball?
Seems like he's got that energy, but obviously what they're doing, he clearly has to be in on it, you know?
He's got to be in on it, but I think he like keeps it in check and presents it in a way that makes guys like want to go out there and play the game of baseball in different ways. Yelly's the same way. I'm all in. I think this team is looking good, and I can't wait to tell you what the over-under is.
Well, the over-under brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. They've got an NBA team up there. Pretty good themselves. And you can get in on the action with our partners, the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you use code Talkin. They've got NBA player. You know what? DraftKings, I'm going to take a little liberty for how excited Trev feels about this. I might just be placing a bet in a minute that might be the DraftKings read. So code Talkin, DraftKings Sportsbook, $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code Talkin only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
I got a question for our super producer, Robbie Sirocco. The Cubs had a DraftKings over-under win total of 85.5, and I believe I took the over.
Yes, you did.
And Jake?
Jake took the over as well.
Then, I mean, there's just only one choice for me here. The DraftKings over-under win total for the Milwaukee Brewers in 2025 is 83.5.
83.5.
They won 93 games last year.
83.5.
83.5.
Trevor.
You ready? In 3,
I'm ready.
2, 1.
It's over.
Over. Over.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Should I bet a lot of money on this?
I think we got a couple really low over-unders that we probably need to get in on, and this is one of them.
The Milwaukee Brewers in the last complete season, so I'll be skipping 2020.
Can't wait.
93 wins in 24. 92 wins. 86 wins. That was their down year in 2022. That was their down year. 95 wins in 21. 89 wins in 19. 96 wins in 18. 86 wins in 17. The Milwaukee Brewers have not had a record below that since 2016.
No respect. Them and the Guardians are the least respected teams in all of baseball.
I mean, I could tell it in your voice. I'm locking it in. I'm betting money on this now. That's disrespectful.
I think it is disrespectful as well.
That's disrespectful. My God. Hey, Brewers fans, it sounded like you probably had a blast this episode, and we didn't even talk about Jacob Mizorowski.
Or Jesus made.
Or Jesus made. For every other team, I guess tell us why we're wrong. What are we missing with these Brewers?
Yeah, tell us how you guys can be bad. That's what we're. Is it depth? I don't know.
Because I don't know. These Brewers look good. They're the 12th ranked MLB team. That means we're getting to the real juice coming up. Thank you, guys. Make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff, and we will see you soon.